Okay, cool. So we're gonna start the webinar now. I hope everyone is here and that they can hear me clearly. Sorry, technical issues on our side. So I think a few things that I want to start this off with is that these slides will be shared. So there's links throughout the slides that direct you to various resources so you can do your own self-learning. So don't worry about taking pictures or if you miss anything, we will circulate these afterwards. The second thing is that the main purpose of this webinar is to essentially give you the tools to kind of go away and submit something for the first stage of this competition. We don't necessarily expect the first stage submission to be your finished project and for it to be absolutely perfect. So as you might be aware from the initial materials made available for the competition, the top 15 teams will be selected by us, and you will go through to a final stage bootcamp where we'll spend a week in Musanze, where the first 2 days will be additional training on how to use these technologies, how to make dashboards, and some additional training around using programming languages. So this is really just kind of like giving you a flavor and an idea of the type of skills that you'll want to learn. And also just like housekeeping point around the comments. So please put your questions in the comments. There should be some NISR staff that might be able to answer them as they come in. If they're not answered throughout the presentation, we have a Q&A at the end of the presentation where we'll cover as many of them as we can in the time that we have. And yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for making the time to listen to us give this presentation, and I hope you enjoy it. So the content we're going to cover today first is going to be a general introduction to NISR. We'll then do an introduction to the NISR data science team. We'll then give you some more information about the hackathon before learning about some of the dashboarding tools, how to do the screen recording, how to use GitHub, and we'll finish with some hints and tips and a Q&A. So NISR, that stands for the National Institute of Statistics Rwanda, and it was created in October 2005. Our mission is to assume the leading role in improving capacity to use information for evidence-based decision-making by coordinating the national effort to collect and archive reliable data and to analyze, document, and disseminate data within an integrated and sustainable framework. What that basically means is that we collect data and try to make it available for policymakers so that they can make good decisions for Rwanda. NISR's vision is to develop and sustain a culture of excellence in statistical production and management of national development. So as a primary data producer, NISR produces lots of statistics, but these include things like gross domestic product, so GDP, the consumer price index, CPI, and also the census. The NISR data science team was started in 2021. So our mission is to scope and deliver data science and big data projects that support NISR to achieve its mandate of supporting evidence-based decision-making across government. So some projects that we've worked on in the past include automatic matching of the post-enumeration survey to census, which moved the process from taking 6 months to 3 weeks. And one of our current projects is automation of the CPI pipeline, which we're moving from being in VBA into R. Now, the hackathon. So this is a brand new competition for us. This is our first year running it. And it is running in conjunction with the infographics competition, which has been running for, I think, the past 12 years or so. The aim of the hackathon is basically to raise awareness of data science for official statistics amongst students like yourselves. We want to give students an opportunity to learn and develop new skills in programming languages, as well as identify emerging talents in Rwanda for data science. We also want to identify some new ideas that the data science team here at NISR can pursue in collaboration with students. Now, in terms of submissions and the competition itself, so the finished product that we want from you guys is a dashboard made in Python or R, which uses data on economic statistics, which are produced by NISR. So this includes the data on the website, which covers gross domestic product, consumer price index, the labor force survey, and the seasonal agricultural survey. Once you have the presentation, each of those links take you to the relevant page for those statistics. The dashboard technologies that we want you to use include Shiny, Streamlit, and Dash. In terms of the judging criteria for your dashboards, so we want you to focus on these things, which are relevance to the competition message, that the data and statistics are well presented, that your ideas are creative, original, and unique. Simplicity, so focus on communicating messages rather than using fancy graphics. Storyline and story flow. Innovativeness, so some out-of-the-box thinking. The shareability and legibility of what you produce, so things like the layout, the color, the font choice, the size, and the ratio. And then finally, the presentation and teamwork, though that'll probably come in at the final stage competition rather than necessarily the first stage. In terms of how we want you to submit your first stage submission, so don't worry, we'll go through how these things are to be produced and submitted later in the presentation, but we want you to submit a link to a GitHub repository by the 13th of November. So this repository should have at least 4 files. The first one is a README file, which explains what data your dashboard uses, what information it's trying to communicate, and how users can interact with the visualizations you're displaying. Number 2 is an R Python script, which contains the code for your dashboard, which should work on any machine. Number 3 is a video file. So this can be a .webm file or a GIF, which shows you demonstrating the user interface and the functionality of your dashboard. So please use screen recording software to do this with no voiceover on top. And please don't use your mobile phone to record a screen. And then finally, we would probably be expecting an Excel file or multiple, if that's what you do, containing the data that you're using for your dashboard. So the first dashboard tool we're going to talk about is Shiny. So this is the main dashboarding tool used in R. It comes integrated with the RStudio environment. I'm not going to click through all of the links here. You'll be able to do that on your own time, but you can find a lot of information at their own website, including how to get started and just some general hints and tips about how to make dashboards. There's also a link to a gallery, which shows a range of dashboards produced for different purposes. So some of them will be based on maps, some of them will be based on making a game, and one that we are going to have a look at is the New Zealand Trade Intelligence Dashboard. So if I just go to here, we'll refresh the page. You can see what they've produced, which is essentially just a dashboard showing various insights about trade data from the year ending June 2018 in New Zealand. So we can see total exports were around $80,000 million. Imports were 78,000 million. And then what the trade balance was. If we go down a little bit more, you can see they've integrated some graphics, which you can also interact with. So if I want to find in 2009, what were the imports and exports of goods and services, it's really easy for me to do. For Shiny, I have also included a couple of textbooks that are quite useful with some more information and some more advanced techniques if you feel as though you can integrate them in time. So the second dashboard tool we're going to talk about is Dash. So Dash is a dashboarding tool that works in both R and Python. It is also linked to the Plotly visualization library, which is also available in both languages. The Dash website provides detailed documentation about how to use both Plotly and Dash. They also have an app gallery, which has many example applications. And we'll have a quick look at one that focuses on the total bill size versus day of the week for different sized parties at a restaurant. So here we can see on a Friday, groups of 4 will on average spend $40, whereas on a Saturday, they might spend 30. We also have some things up the top just to change how the graphic looks. So if we wanted to look at the non-smokers, we can see how that changes versus having the smokers. Oh, everyone's a non-smoker. But yeah, so that's a kind of rough idea of what you might try and do in Dash. If we jump back to the presentation. So in addition to the resources on the Dash website, there's also a YouTube series linked, which is very good at explaining how to get started in Dash. Streamlit is the last one we're going to talk about. So Streamlit is a Python-based dashboarding tool. As with Dash, Streamlit provide their own documentation on their website. They also have an app gallery, and I've chosen an app which shows descriptive analytics of investment in Tanzania as a useful demonstration of how it can be used. So if we go to this one, you can see you have all the different filters you can use on the left here, and you have information presented on the right. So we have investment by state, investment by business type, and the general regions by ratings. If we hop back in, we can also see that, so the winners of the Youth Prize in the 2022 UN Datathon use Streamlit for their app, and I've linked a link to the presentation they did demonstrating what they did and what their app does. Now, for the submission, we also want you to do a screen recording. So the screen recording is so that we can see your app working and see what the kind of choices you've made around how it looks and how it works are. So I would recommend using screencasting in Google Chrome, which I'm going to demonstrate, but there are numerous screen recording softwares as in-browser options you can use for this purpose. So we'll go through the whole process here together, and we'll add the extension. Once that's downloaded and added to Chrome, it'll ask you to sign in. I think I might already be signed in. Then we go to, we'll go to this tab. We'll click here. We'll click on the extension. It'll give you the option of what to record. So let's choose browser tab. We don't want to give it microphone access because we want this recording just to be of the screen. Hit record and hit an error. That's good. Okay, it's back. So it's now recording the screen, and I can click through different parts of the dashboard. So let's say we'll remove the Midwest region and we'll see what happens. Then I can go through and I can show the different things that the graphs are showing. So an apartment has investments of 139. I can also go and click on this different tab so we can see the progress. Then once I've done about a minute of demonstrating the app and the different things that you can do within it, I would then go to here and end the recording. which will take me to this page where we can see exactly what just happened, where the app kind of crashed, then it came back, and you can see me clicking through. Here on the right, we can go to export the video, and we can download the file, or we can export as a GIF. We'll keep it simple and just download the file, which we can see is dashboard.streamlit. I did this a bit earlier as well, but it's a .webm file. Super. And as I said, you can use any kind of screen recording extension to do this in browser, and it should be simple enough. Now, we'll move on to the GitHub demonstration. So I'm going to talk you through how to create a GitHub account, how to create a repository for your project, how to create a README file and how to edit it, and then finally how to upload files to GitHub. So if we come over here into the GitHub tab, this is what the homepage looks like. Up here in the top right, you can see the sign up button. So I'll try and sign up. I was having some issues earlier, but it doesn't really change. It's quite a simple sign up phase. It's more once we're through this that you might need some help. So if we do this and then put in a password, username, so Jack D NISR, and then we don't want to receive products. Do a verification puzzle. So use the arrows to rotate the animal to face in the direction of the hand. Cool. And then we can create our account. So I'll get a verification email, which hopefully comes through quite fast. And just as a general point, so I think the reason that we're using GitHub for this purpose is that basically GitHub is used by most data science teams across the world and by lots of software developers to do their version control. So it's actually a really useful skill to get some experience in, even if it is for quite a simple project. Okay, that's not coming through. What I'll do is I'll sign in to my normal GitHub account and show the next stage. Oh, this is useful. Cool. Oh my God. What is going on? Okay. This appears to be slightly broken. Okay, I've got the code now. That's fine. Cool. So you get this fun loading screen, and it will take you through all of the various pages. Now, once you're here for your submission, what we want to do is we want to create a new repository. So in GitHub language, repositories are basically just folders which are stored online. So this is a set that we want you to put the files in that we'll be able to access. We'll want you to call this NISR Hackathon dashboard for the repository name. The description, optional at the moment, is not super important, just something like my NISR dashboard. And you want to make this public. We also want to add a README file. So these are the 4 things you want to fill out. Is just the repository name, the description, making it public. This is super important. Please do not make it private, because otherwise we will not be able to find it when you do your submission. And then the README file is also something that we'll be looking at as part of your submission. So once we've done all that, we can click on the Create Repository. And you should see this as your main page. So we've got the one README file, which is being displayed here, and nothing else. So what we're going to learn is just the very simple, basic manual way of adding files to a GitHub repository. So right here, you can click Add File. I'm going to click on Upload. So this is likely when you're at the stage of having made your app or your dashboard, and you have your script, you have your data, and you have your recording ready, is you're going to go into this phase. We're going to click Choose Files. I've already made a little folder here. So we've got the example folder, which has my data and it has my app. So let's try and do these together. So we'll upload the two files, which is the data I've used, which is the CPI time series for August. And then it should upload my example R file immediately after. I'll just wait for that to load. Something that you can also do in GitHub, which is useful for when you're working on projects longer term, is each time you add things or change things, you can just add a little commit message. So I might say uploading data and R file, first upload for first stage submission as part of competition. So if I ever come back and I'm curious about what I added and what the reason for adding it was, it's here and it's nice and easy to read. Once those have been uploaded, we just leave it as it is. So we commit directly to the main branch and then do commit changes. And then you'll see in my folder, I now have my data, my README, and my app. Then finally, we're also going to, oops, sorry, that was a mistake, upload the WebM file that I just did. So right here, the recording of my Streamlit dashboard, and we can just do the same again. So uploading screen recording, first screen recording upload for Hackathon competition. Cool, and we'll commit that as well. Nice. So we now have all of these files. The next thing that's really important is, as part of our assessment, we'll be looking at your README file to explain in reasonable detail what it is that your app does. So this will mainly cover things like what data your dashboard uses, what insights is it trying to communicate, and kind of what are the main sort of functionality and user interface decisions that you've made. So for example, if I was doing this, I might say I have used the CPI data to make a dashboard which shows how different kind of sectors of the economy have been impacted by changes in prices. I chose to use R Shiny because I have experience in R before, and I thought that the UI looked nicer than the alternatives. I chose these colors for these reasons, and then anything else that you feel as though we should know that you think is relevant to what you've made. Once you've made those changes to the README, it's once again you just commit the changes, got the commit message of updating the README, hit commit. And when we come back to our main repository, you can see that that change has gone through. And I can now see the updates to the README file right here. So this is what it should look like when you're doing your final stage submission to us, and you would send us this link here to the GitHub repository. Coming back to the slides. So in terms of GitHub Advanced, so what I've shown is really a very basic way of using GitHub to store the files. Normally, you would use GitHub continuously throughout your project, and you would link it to your personal computer and be able to upload directly from your computer using the command line. More information about how to do that has also been linked, though we really do not expect it at this stage of the competition. And there's not really any way for you to demonstrate that you're doing these skills. It's just generally like a really good thing to learn and be aware of as you pursue a career in data science. Moving on towards the end, so some hints and tips that we've put together for you. So I think the first thing is think about using some other data sets that could be relevant. So while we've provided you with the economic statistics data sets, and you have to use at least one of them, you are also allowed to find your own data, which can be like combined with the ones that we've given to make a more interesting or relevant dashboard. So for example, you might want to think about using shapefiles if you're trying to do some map-based visualizations. Number two is kind of focus on the functionality of the app or the dashboard over having fancy aesthetics. So it really is more important that we understand the story you want to tell with the data than how good it looks. Third, please use the time wisely. So there's 3.5 weeks from today until the submission deadline. Make a plan over the weekend and stick to it so that you can submit your absolute best work and you can be happy with what you're giving us. And then finally, have fun. So even if you don't make it to the final, we really do want every participant in the competition to learn some new skills that they'll be able to use in their future university career and their working life. Once again, thank you for coming along to this presentation. And we can now go through any questions that you guys have. Please write them in the chat and we'll go through them as they come in. Thanks. So the number of files is not limited to 4. It is just that we expect at least 4. So it'll come back up to here. So the minimum we expect is a README file, the script, the video file, and the Excel file. You can definitely have more than 4, and depending on how you work, you might have multiple R Python scripts required to make your app. You also might be using multiple different data sources, and we would expect multiple Excel files in that case. So this represents a minimum rather than being a prescriptive number. Are we analyzing all the data sets in the reports provided or just one of them? So again, that's really up to you. We don't have any limits on how many or how little. Well, you have to use at least one, but outside of that, there are no rules about which data sets you use. So if you want to combine the CPI and the GDP data, that's perfectly fine. If you want to do the same with the Seasonal Agricultural Survey and any of the other ones, also fine. Please be as creative and as innovative as you can, using the data we've provided and any other sources you can find. Yes, these slides will be shared afterwards. So the expected output is a single dashboard. If I'm understanding your question correctly, DS, of can one team compute for the 3 data sets? Let's say a team create a nice dashboard for each of the 3 data sets separately. I think if you made a dashboard where it basically just shows the data presented in graphs for each of them separately, that's not particularly interesting. If you're able to take 2 or more of the data sets, combine the data, and use it to create new insights beyond what is already there, that would be something that we would find more interesting. Not to say you would be penalized for just displaying the data from different sources, but I don't think it would add a huge amount to a dashboard if you just chose to do 2 different data sets with some very basic visualizations. In terms of confusion about how to set GitHub and the dashboard, I would really encourage you to rewatch the stream and to click on the links that I have given. So they go through it in a lot more detail about how each of the dashboarding tools work. So if we use Shiny, for example, and we go to the Shiny website, I can show you, what that looks like. So if we go to getting started in R, you'll see that there's a lot of information here. So explaining what it is, how to install it, what an example app looks like. It'll tell you how to build the user interface and all the different aspects that go into building the app. So each of the 3 dashboard technologies that I've shown you have very similar information available online through their main websites, which again are all linked in the presentation, which will be. How to submit your work. So as I've said, we want you to submit the work through a GitHub repository that looks like this. If you missed earlier in the stream, I go through how to set this up and add your files to it. And it should just be a link to something like this. In terms of awards, so at present, I think the awards is various kind of quality of laptop for the top 3 teams. So the top team will get, I can't remember the specific models, but each of the top 3 teams that make it to the final stage of the hackathon competition and come first, second, and third will get laptops. Judging criteria, so information about how projects will be evaluated. So really it will be a holistic evaluation of your dashboard. We'll take all of the criteria into consideration and judge your dashboard against it. So if you do go to the website and you look at the NISR hackathon, you can see that we have all of the evaluation criteria written out here. So exactly as it is in the presentation, you can go here and see what exactly it is we're going to be evaluating you on. I think I would really stress the ones that are important or most important for us are going to be relevance to the competition message, that your data and statistics are well presented, coming in with new ideas, and really focusing on keeping it simple but informative. I think some of the other ones might be more focused on in the infographic competition. But really, we will use all of them to varying degrees. Yes, so this is the first time the hackathon is being added to the NISR competition. We are still learning ourselves how it's all working, so we do appreciate your patience and any feedback that you have about how the process is run and anything you think could be improved. That would be really very much appreciated by the data science team here. Do we have to submit a video of infographics, or is it just a PDF document only? I'm afraid I do not know about the infographics competition enough to comment on that. Okay, where to submit the GitHub link? We will be sending out via email and WhatsApp a place to submit the GitHub link, and we will do that in the coming 2 weeks. So just keep your eyes out for that. Try to show sample process online, known for making it made in hackathon direct on the topic seasonal. I don't quite understand your question, Emmanuel. I don't think I can tell you how many groups are participating, but there are certainly a few, so it should be a competitive time. So I would like to ask people in charge for the follower who has their own GitHub account used for daily activities, if possible, and create. Yes, you do not have to create a new GitHub account for this purpose. We just need a public repository on any GitHub account. So please do use your own where possible if you already have one. Yes, this session has been recorded and it will be uploaded and shared afterwards. So if you missed anything or if any of your teammates weren't able to attend, they will be able to watch it at a later date. Dashboard samples on GitHub you can share with us. So in the presentation, there are links to galleries on each of the dashboarding tool websites. These will show you lots of examples of dashboards using each one and using different types of data to help give you ideas about how you might present the NISR data yourselves. Yep, again, slides will be shared afterwards. Don't worry about that. For the bootcamp, yep. So 15 teams total will be selected for the bootcamp. So 30 people overall from this competition. And of those 15 teams, 3 will win a prize at the end of that week. Yep, again, we will add we will send out the relevant link to submit your GitHub repository in the coming weeks. Please do not worry about that. And just to let everyone know, I'll stay on for the next 10 minutes to answer any questions. Please do drop them in the chat if you still have any. So if teams are selected for both the infographics and the hackathon competition, the final stage is being ran on different weeks, so you will be able to attend both. We've yet to confirm which weeks which competition will be on, but it will run from the 26th of November to the 10th of December. So across those 2 weeks will be the 2 boot camps, and that'll be from Monday to Friday. Yep. So the submission video should just be a silent video. No need to commentate over it, which is fine. Yeah, exactly as you say. So the Python script should be in your GitHub repository exactly like this. So this is an R file, but it could just as easily be a .py file that just contains the code necessary to produce your app. And we will do some checking of the scripts to make sure that it lines up with the video you've made and the README you've written about how the dashboard works and what it looks like. For this competition, we are unfortunately only going to be accepting dashboards that are completed in R and Python. I would say if you know other programming languages. I think it should be quite simple to adapt your knowledge to these, especially with the resources that are available and provided in the presentation. In terms of the screen recording, so essentially what we want you to do is to get an extension of some description that lets you record your screen, and then go into your app and record yourself the um, using the app for its like basic functionality, just so we can see easily how it looks like and what clicking on the different parts of it do. So it's a chance for you to kind of demonstrate what you've created and what it looks like. Yes, the app. Sorry for I've been using app and dashboard interchangeably, but they are the same thing. So essentially, we expect you to have in this code that you submit the necessary code to produce the dashboard that you show in your video. You can use any technology you want, any like IDE, integrated development environment that you want. So Jupyter Notebook is totally fine. As long as we are able to run it, that is acceptable. And as long as the actual language used is Python or R. At the moment, I do not know off the top of my head more information about the internship reward. I will inquire with the team and send that out in an email and via the WhatsApp chat. In terms of coming back to how account can be created, so I would encourage you to rewatch the video because it goes through that in quite a lot of detail. Nope. The video you should create should be literally just 1 minute, and it should only show your app or your dashboard while it's working and what the user interface looks like and how it works. We don't need to see your whole process for creating the dashboard. In terms of how R and Python are different, so essentially both of them are very commonly used in data science. R tends to be used by people who come from statistics or potentially bioinfographics backgrounds. Python is generally used by people who come from software development backgrounds or people that are new to coding in general. So R tends to be more focused on the statistics side and can be a bit more technical in that way and has a lot of support. Python is a general language, so you can code kind of more normal software development type things in it, as well as data science work. And both of them are really good and have lots of support and resources available online to learn. It's at some point comes down to just personal preference between them in terms of what you think is easier to learn and easier to use. And that can also come down to the different environments that you use for them. So for example, Python is often using things like Jupyter Notebooks or Visual Studio Code, whereas R has RStudio, which some people prefer. Is there any opportunity for students to continue engaging with the NISR data science team after the competition? So we are actively working on more outreach ideas and ways of working with students. Please do get in touch with us if you have any ideas of the types of things you would like to see us doing. We're always really happy to receive any feedback. You have our mailing list, which is the data.science@nisr.gov.rw. Please feel free to get in touch with anything you think would be good for us to run. Is it necessary to submit the PDF dashboard screenshots or codes and videos enough? Codes and the video are enough. That is all we want. Screenshots, stuff like that, it's not necessary. Please try to stick to what we've said we want in the presentation. So you said there's no problem to have more than one Python script file and can a group make apps for different topics, or it's mandatory to choose one topic? So the only requirement is that there is one dashboard at the end. You can integrate multiple topics into one dashboard. You cannot do multiple different dashboards for multiple different topics or do multiple dashboards for the same topic. In terms of the scripts, some people like to work by making different scripts as kind of like dependencies, so that they run out of that. But yeah, we expect to be able to find the one that runs the app. And if you can please specify that in your README file as well, should you make multiple scripts, that would be really useful. In the chat, you can see Therese has answered about the internship. So professional internships will be awarded to team members of the top 3 winning teams who are eligible. So eligibility is defined by those who are in their last year of their university program. Which app would like to help us in that hackathon competition? Where could I find it? So that's really the purpose of the competition, is we want you to come to us with new ideas. We don't want to give too much direction around how to do it, because I think we certainly have ideas about how we want to make dashboards, and we want to see what you guys bring to the table so that we can learn something as well. And we're really excited to see what you do with the data. Yes, this video will be available after the session. It will be shared early next week. Don't worry. Yes, with no voiceover means don't have any audio in the recording. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for coming. We have a WhatsApp group now that we can use to coordinate any extra questions that you have. There are multiple members of the data science team in there that will be happy to help with anything that you have. If you're not in the WhatsApp chat, please email us afterwards and we'll make sure that you get added. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to come and listen to me talk, and also thank you for entering our competition. We're really excited to see what you do. And yeah, any questions, please do not hesitate to run out, and we'll hopefully see as many of you as we can at the bootcamp in December. Thanks. Bye.